While sitting on a corner near the local diner, Josh happened to overhear a conversation between the waitress and a customer. He was struck by her struggle to afford something as basic as baby formula and felt compelled to act. After receiving a substantial donation from a stranger, Josh chose to share it with her. However, his generous gesture took an unexpected turn. When the police arrived shortly after he handed over the money, they quickly handcuffed him, claiming he was facing a serious issue. Josh's life had always been tough, even before he became homeless. He had faced many challenges, but he still believed in the goodness of others. This belief drove him, but it also led to his problems. It all began when he overheard a young woman's conversation while he was sitting outside, holding a sign asking for food for himself and his dog. The waitress and her coworker were taking a break nearby. Although Josh didn't mean to eavesdrop, he heard their chat. "I won't make it to the end of the month. I don't even have enough to buy baby formula. I don't know what to do." "Gracie," the young woman said. Her voice was soft but clear enough for Josh to hear. He felt a sharp pang of sympathy, thinking about her struggle to provide for her child. Even though he didn't have children, he knew what it was like to struggle to feed his dog. But how could he help her when he had no money himself and relied on the kindness of others? Just then, a man approached Josh, his face partially hidden by a hat, and handed him a $50 bill. Josh was amazed. "Thank you," he said, surprised. The man nodded and told him, "Get yourself and the dog some food." Then he tipped his hat slightly and walked away. Josh was stunned but grateful, knowing that with this generous gift, he could finally help someone else. Little did he know, this act of kindness would lead to unexpected trouble. Josh told his dog, Duke, to stay, which she promptly did. He thought he could ask the waitress to exchange the money so he could gift a larger portion of it to her for baby formula while still getting some food for Duke. The staff eyed him warily as he approached the counter, but Josh wasn't bothered. He decided to put a smile on his face as he approached the waitress, whom he knew was struggling. "I'm sorry to bother you, miss, but I have a question to ask," Josh began. The young woman looked at him, confusion clear on her face. "I didn't mean to overhear your conversation from earlier, but I did, and I want to help." The waitress's eyes grew wide at Josh's words. She could hardly believe it. "That is so kind of you, sir, but I can't accept it," she said. But Josh wouldn't let her decline the money. "You're just being polite by declining the money that I want to offer you. You're in need of baby formula, and I understand the pain of not being able to provide for something that relies on you." He glanced at Duke, sitting patiently outside the diner. "Please don't decline my help. I agree that I can't give you everything, but I do want to share what I have." She looked even more confused. "Share it?" she asked, and Josh nodded. "Yes, I got $50, but I also need to feed myself and my dog. So could you maybe exchange it and give me $20 back? You can keep the remaining $30 for baby formula and yourself." Hearing his words almost brought the woman to tears. She nodded and hugged Josh. After they broke off the hug, Josh gave her the money to exchange it for smaller bills. "Wait here a moment, and I'll be right back," she said. Josh decided to take a seat as he waited for the waitress to return with his portion of the money. He noticed sirens stopping in front of the diner and wondered what had happened when the police suddenly barged in. It was then that he saw the waitress stand up. Josh immediately stood up, thinking he was getting his portion of the money, but she did something he never expected. "Officer, it's him," she said, pointing toward Josh. He stopped in his tracks, frozen in place, his brows furrowed in confusion. The officers immediately grabbed him. "You have a big problem," one of them said, confusing Josh even more. "I didn't do anything wrong," he murmured, his voice a mix of confusion and fear, but the officers didn't respond. Josh was led to the police cruiser, his mind racing with unanswered questions. He recounted his story, from receiving the bill to his decision to help the waitress. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. "I just wanted to help someone in need," he explained, hoping his sincerity would shine through. The officer listened, his expression unreadable. "It's about the money you tried to give away," the officer finally said. "It's counterfeit." Josh's eyes widened in disbelief. He felt a mixture of shock and betrayal, wondering who the man who gave him the bill really was. Josh's voice was firm, tinged with a mix of confusion and indignation. "I swear, I had no idea it was fake," he asserted, meeting the officer's gaze directly. He remembered the man's quiet generosity and unassuming presence. "He didn't seem like he wanted attention," Josh explained. "He just walked up, handed me the money, and left." His mind grappled with the possibility. Was this man aware that the money was fake? The officers decided to review the diner's surveillance footage, hoping it might shed light on the identity of the mysterious donor. Josh watched anxiously as they played the tapes, his heart racing with the possibility that this footage could prove his innocence. Despite the man's obscured face, the footage corroborated Josh's story. It showed the brief interaction, the man handing something to Josh and walking away. The police, having concluded that the evidence against Josh was insufficient, decided to release him. As the handcuffs were removed, a wave of relief washed over Josh. The sunlight seemed brighter, the air fresher, but his heart was heavy with the knowledge of what had transpired. As Josh made his way back through the streets he knew so well, he noticed the varied reactions of those he passed. Back at the diner a few days later, Josh encountered the waitress. She approached him with hesitant steps, her expression apologetic. "I'm really sorry about what happened," she began, her voice quivering slightly. "I never wanted you to get into trouble." Josh could see the sincerity in her eyes, the genuine regret for the role she had inadvertently played in his wrongful arrest. Josh and the waitress took a moment to sit together, sharing their experiences. As they talked, a mutual understanding emerged. As they conversed, Josh's gaze drifted to the window, where he saw a familiar figure passing by, the man who had given him the counterfeit bill. Without hesitation, Josh excused himself and rushed outside, calling out to the nearby police officers. He pointed out the man, explaining that he was the one who had given him the fake $50 bill. The officers reacted swiftly, moving to apprehend the man. As Josh watched, a mix of relief and anticipation surged through him. The officers conducted a swift but thorough search of the suspect, revealing several more counterfeit bills tucked away in his pockets. The man's face fell as he was caught red-handed, and there was a collective sigh of relief from the onlookers. For Josh, it was more than just the arrest of a criminal. It symbolized a turn of justice, a rectification of the wrongs he had endured. As the police car drove away with the suspect, Josh felt a profound sense of relief and vindication. The weight of the false accusation lifted from his shoulders. In the days that followed, the police investigation revealed that the man they had arrested was involved in a big counterfeit money scheme. Josh's name was cleared as the truth came out. He was no longer seen as just a homeless man who got caught up in trouble. He had actually played a role in exposing the criminal ring. The police discovered that the arrested man was part of a larger operation that was spraying fake money through small businesses in the city. It became clear that Josh had been unknowingly involved and was not guilty of any crime. As news of Josh's innocence spread, the community's view of him changed from suspicion to support. The diner staff and regulars, who had once been wary of him, now offered kindness and help. The waitress, in particular, became a supporter of Josh, sharing his story and improving his reputation. With his name cleared and the community's backing, Josh started to rebuild his life. Thanks to the help of strangers and a small job he found, he was able to get a more stable living situation. This marked the start of a hopeful new chapter in his life.